So we have completed our core HR absence and the payroll modules team. Today, let us start with the topic of the security administration in the system team. Okay. So next topics that we are going to discuss will be security administration, and then we are going to talk about the concept of workflows and approvals. Okay. And then let us talk about the concept of sandbox team. Okay. Before the sandbox, we are going to see the data migration tools like HDL and HSDL team. And then we will see the topic of sandbox. Okay. So in this week, we are going to see all these topics at Max team. If not, we will also have the session on the Saturday to cover all these topics. Okay. So security administration, let's start with this topic for today. So what we are going to see here in the security administration, already in our initial discussion way back, I think 1.5 months or 2 months back when we started the course, in the initial second or third session, introduction to the security, we have talking about the concept of user management. And we know pretty well as of now how to deal with the user account creation in the system, like manually how the user accounts can be created, how to assign the roles to them, and automatically when the employee is getting hired in the system, how the user accounts are getting created. That stuff we have seen. The left out topic in the security is what team? The role management. So whenever we talk about security in the Fusion system, we have to see the system for two areas team. One is user account management. One is user account management, and the other is role management in the system team. And this stuff we have already seen. The user management in the system, how to define that already we have seen. The username generation rules, password complexity, password policy setup, notification setup, expiry warning setup, all this we have discussed in our initial sessions team. Now we have to talk about the concept of roles in the system team. So what is a role in the system? How many types of roles that we have in the system? In that, what are Oracle delivered roles and how we have to define our custom roles for our business requirement, that we have to see in the roles team. So as we know in the system team, the entire Fusion application is working, the security in the Fusion application is working on a single concept called RBAC that we aware of, correct? On roles-based access control. So the entire Fusion system is working on a concept called team roles-based access control, right? Now, whenever the user account got created in the system, whatever the roles that we are assigning to that user, depending upon that, the access to the application is getting provisioned. That is what the concept of roles-based access control. Now, within the roles, what are the types of roles that we have in the system team? We have the roles called job roles. We have the roles called job roles, and we have the roles called data roles, and we have the roles called abstract roles, and then we have something called duty roles or aggregate privileges team or aggregate privileges team. So these two, some portion of the people will call them independently, duty role as different, aggregate privilege as different, but I call it as both as one role, duty role or the aggregate privileges team. So these are the 4 or 5 types of roles that we have in the Fusion application team. These are the 4 or 5 types of roles that we have in the Fusion application team. So what is a job role in the system team? Basically, as you are aware of team, for our different modules in the system, whatever that we have in place. Okay. For our different modules in the system, I told you for each of the module in the system, Oracle delivered certain standard roles already. Let's say if you take our core HR module team, in order to get access to those transactions or to those configurations in the core HR, we have 3 roles available in the system called human resource manager, human resource specialist, and human resource analyst. Like for absence module also, these 3 roles are sufficient team. For these 2 modules, these 3 roles. For payroll module, we have payroll manager, payroll administrator. Talent goals and performance module also, these 3 roles are sufficient team. Compensation and benefits, we have compensation manager, compensation administrator, compensation analyst, like that. For benefits module, we have benefits administrator, benefits manager, like that. If you go to OTL, I have the role specific to them. ORC, I have the roles like recruiting manager, hiring manager, like that. If I go to OLC, Oracle Learning Cloud, here I have something called learning specialist, learning employee, learning manager, like that I have the roles team. So for each of the module in the system, or for each of the business area in the system, we have the roles predefinedly delivered by Oracle team that are called as job roles in the system team. What is a job role team? Seeded Oracle delivered roles for all the business areas in the system is called as job role. What is a job role team? The seeded Oracle delivered roles for all the business areas in the system. And the example could be these things. Examples could be these things. Human resource manager, okay, or payroll manager, or payroll administrator, etc. These are the examples that we have in the job roles. So job roles are the seeded Oracle delivered roles in the system. When you license a team directly, you can see all that roles readily available team, job roles. If you want to check, let me show them in the system team, where we have to navigate in order to have the access to roles, configuration of roles in the system team. You should go to tools. We have a functional area called tools. Under that, we have a sub-functional area called security console. So the entire security in the Fusion system will be handled in this sub-functional area team, security console. So if I go to security console team, the very first section, I have the roles. If I want to define the new user, we have to go to user. This stuff we have seen already team. But here on the very first tab roles, you can find here basically the types of roles available team. See, job role, abstract role, duty role, other roles are nothing but the data roles and the aggregate privileges. This is what I have listed here will be seen team. You can search them accordingly. Let's say I want to search with a role called human resource manager. Okay, let me see the section heading. You can see job role, human resource manager. Forget about the other 2 team. Whatever the role starting with the code ORA, that you take it as granted team. That is the Oracle delivered role in the system, the standard role. These 2 are the copy to this one. Like you and me, when you're defining the custom job roles for our business requirement, people created them. But in the real time, you will be seeing the role starting with the ORA team. See the category also job role. Correct? Like that, job roles are readily available in the system whenever you license it with whatever the modules you got licensed with your product team. All that respective module related job roles are readily available in the system. They are the seeded Oracle delivered roles for all the business areas that are licensed in the application team. Right? Okay. Nothing to do here. Job roles, we will not create anything, that are readily available. Then what is a data role concept in the system team? See team, today I'm hiring an employee, let's suppose team. let's suppose I'm hiring an employee in the system called, okay, Mr. Ram, I'm hiring team. So Mr. Ram, I'm hiring as a uh, HR manager in the system in so-called Tata Automobiles Private Limited. In this legal entity, in so-called business unit team, I'm hiring Mr. Ram in the system team. So whenever I'm hiring a Ram, I have assigned this human resource manager role to Mr. Ram. So Mr. Ram account is, let's say, something called ram@tata.com. This is the user account, and this is the role that which I assigned to Mr. Ram team. Okay. Now, in the same application, all my clients' legal entities were implemented. Tata Automobiles, TCS India, Tata Steels, all the legal entities across the globe were implemented in this system. Now, I hired my employee Ram, who is a HR in Tata Automobiles, and I added directly the job role to my employee Ram team, that is human resource manager job role. Now, when my employee Ram logged into the system, when he come to the application, as I added human resource manager role, he will get access to this my client groups, right? Because the HR access I have added to him, he will get access to my client groups, and he can hire the employees, and he can search the existing employees to perform several transactions like transfer, promote, demote, whatever he wants. Now my employee Ram logged into the system with his user. He came to my client groups, and he is going to person management team in order to search for an employee team. He is searching for an employee called a person called John. Now, when I search with a John employee name, what data resulted here, team? I'm able to see the employees of London. I'm able to see the employees of Los Angeles, and then another US based employees, New York based employees, Germany, Dublin, across the legal entities, every employee in the system, whoever the name starting with John, all that employees record in the system able to see access team. But in the real time, will it be the situation? No. This Ram belonged to which company? He is part of only Tata Automobiles Private Limited. He is the HR of Tata Automobiles Private Limited. He should not able to see the data of TCS, or he should not able to see the data of Tata Steels, or he should not able to see the something FMCG or whatever other legal entities that my clients have. The employees data of other legal entities, this employee should not have access. Only the employees of Tata Automobiles he should able to see in the system. How can I restrict that one thing? How can I restrict that thing? So that's why we have a concept in the roles called data roles. As the name itself telling, certain data restrictions can be handled in the system within this data roles team. We are going to have the data role created in the system with some data restrictions to that team. So ultimately, team, in the Fusion application for our employees in the system, we will not assign directly the job role, because directly the free job role, if you assign to the employee team, my employee will have access to all the data in the system, but that is not fair. He should able to get access only related to his legal employer, to his related department, to his related business unit. Only that's it. No other than that in the system. How can I achieve that, team? I should set up some data restrictions to my role team. So for that purpose, we have the concept called data roles. So data roles are the custom roles that we create by copying the seeded job role and adding the data restrictions to the role. What is a data role, team? Custom roles that we create by copying the seeded job. If I want to create a data role, what is the source of truth? which type of data role I'm going to create. So if I want to have my custom data role team, first I will take up my job role in the system. I will copy this one team. I will copy this one team, and then I will create my own custom data role, something like Tata HR manager. So this is my data role. This is my job role. I have to copy my job role and I have to create my custom data role. So this data role will inherit the job role team. So basically, whatever the access that employee will get by having that human resource manager role, all that will be inherited within our data role team, the custom one, whatever we create. That's why data roles are something, the custom roles that we create by copying the seeded job role and adding the data restriction to our roles team. We are going to have this data restriction, like only the employees of Tata Automobiles, only the role of Tata HR manager should get access in the system, like that. Not only that one team, whenever we talking about the data roles and the data restriction team, one example I have told you related to employees data. So one is related to employee data restriction or any such data related in the system. Not only this employee team, let's suppose I'm hiring an employee team now. If I go to my client groups, and if I go to new person, let's say for hiring an employee, if I go to hire an employee team, okay, and give the hire date, I will give hire action reason, I will give. In the legal employer, when I'm clicking on, why I'm able to see all the legal entities in the system? I am the HR of Tata Automobiles, so I should be able to hire an employees only in Tata Automobiles. Why should I get access to Tata Steel, Tata Power, all the other information team here? This restriction also should be there in the system. When I'm hiring an employee in the system, when I click on a drop down as a HR, only one legal entity of mine, Tata Automobiles, should display, not all these things. What? How can I control all this stuff? So this is also part of the data restriction only team. Oh, not only the employees data, organization information, position information. There will be 9 to 10 objects in the system team which can have the data controlled for the employee with the role that we are assigning team, right? So whenever we talking about the data roles and the data restrictions team, two types of restrictions we have to talk about. One is data restrictions, with the example I have told you with the employees and the legal employer, something like that. The data restrictions we have to see team, and the other one is functionality restrictions team. Other one is functionality restrictions team. What is that functionality restrictions team? If I log in with a role called human resource manager assigned to my user team, let's suppose, what access I will get? Basically, I will get access to my client groups, because that human resource manager role will give access to my client groups, correct? Now my HR is telling my client groups access I will get, and also I will get the new person management, absences, all these access I will get with that role. My client is telling, Kumar, whenever an employee with the role human resource manager having, if that person log in into the system, when he come to my client groups and when he come to new person, in this list of tasks, only my user should able to see hire an employee and add a contingent worker tasks team. Pending worker, new person dashboard, add a pending worker, add a non-worker. I don't want this access to be given to those user. Only hire an employee and add a contingent. Only these two tasks should be displayed in the new person. What is that team? Some functionality level restrictions also my client expecting with the role. Or let's say, once we hire an employee in the system team, we can go to the person management, right? And then we can go to the person search, and you can get into the details. Let's say I'm going into the details team. My client is telling, Kumar, whenever an employee log into the system, the HR, come to the employee screen, and when you go to this drop down, he should not able to see this payroll section, because I don't want to allow my HRs to perform the payroll things, because there are certain portfolio having called payroll specialist, payroll managers, where they will handle them. So please hide or please restrict these access to the users, or none of the employees in the system should able to update the bank details. Please hide this functionality from here. Or let's say my HR, whoever having assigned with this human resource manager role, when they come to the user in the person management, they should not see these representatives to the employee. Please control this functionality restriction to the users. How can I do that thing? So whenever we're talking about the roles team, it's not only about the data restrictions we have to talk to, like what data a user is getting access with that role. Not only that one team, we have to talk about the functionality restrictions also team. Like with that role assigned to him, what access you are controlling to that person. So when we creating the custom data roles by copying the seeded job roles in the system team, right? Whenever we are creating our custom data roles by copying the seeded job roles team, we can have the data restriction implemented to that custom role, and also we can have our functionality restrictions controlled at the data role team. So these two can be customized when we defining our data roles in the system team. So that's why we have a concept in the system called data role. Whenever we hiring the employee in the real time, any project you are working, we will not directly assign the job roles to the employee. We will use that job roles what Oracle has given. We will copy them and we will create our custom data role with the data restrictions and functionality restrictions enabling at that level. And the data roles we were going to use in any of the project to assign to the employees team. Take it as thumb rule. We should not touch the job roles. Why? Because it will mess up the system. Job roles are what? Oracle given standard rules. If you misplace any of those things in the system, entire system will get in trouble. So in the real time, job roles we never touch. Just we will copy them and we will create our own custom data roles with all these controllings at this level T. So whenever anyone asks you in the security, what restrictions you are going to have in the system, you can partition them into two. One is data restriction and the other one is access level restrictions. Functionality specific restrictions we can have in place team. So that is called as data roles. How to create, I will come in the next 10 or 15 minutes team. But as such, theoretically understand what is a job role, what is a data role in the system team, right? And then we have something called abstract roles in the system team. So what is an abstract role team? 3 roles, that two which are Oracle delivered, we will call them as abstract roles team. Those are employee, line manager, and contingent worker. These 3 roles in the system will called as abstract roles. What is this abstract role means? These are the basic fundamental roles team. Whenever you hiring an employee in the system, by default, the basic employee role will be assigned to him team. For each and every employee in the system, whenever you are hiring them, by default, the basic employee role will get assigned to you. Why? Because when the user account is getting created, at least that employee should have access to his own records. Means he should get access at least to me in the system, where he can see his own employee self-service related stuff like his own assignment, his own personal information. Correct? So by default, the basic employee role will assign team, and that is Oracle delivered role. That too, that role we will call it as abstract role in the system team. And also line manager role, like when we hiring an employee with a flag setup working as a manager, yes, when you hiring the person, and when you give some subordinates under that employee team, when that person got hired team, along with the employee, the line manager role also will assign. Why? Because he should get access to his subordinate records. Correct? my team. So this employee and line manager role, we will call them as abstract roles team. Basic fundamental roles which will give access to employee and manager self-service team. On top of that, whatever that you are going to provide to the employee on an administrative perspective, like HR, payroll, compensation, absence access, that will be handled through this staff team. Okay. And contingent worker is also an abstract role team. Like whenever you're hiring an employee in the system, then employee role will assign to him team. Let's say if you're hiring an employee as a contingent worker with a task of add a contingent worker, then the contingent worker role will assign to the user. That will also give access to me in the system team. So if you want, you can search here. Those also readily available team. We don't need to define them any customly. If you want, you can define customly also, but by default delivered by Oracle. So if I go to roles, when I search with employee team, okay, see, employee is coming under which category? Under abstract roles. Not only that one, line manager. See, under abstract roles, I'm getting line manager also team. So these are readily delivered by Oracle, which will give access to employee and manager self-service team. So those three roles will be called as abstract roles in the system team. Fundamental basic roles. Okay. A part of these three roles, we have something called duty roles and aggregate privileges team. Duty roles or aggregate privileges will be inherited within this job or the data roles team. Let's suppose I have a role called human resource manager team. If I assign to a user team, what actions that he can perform in the system team, like what duties that he can perform in the system by having this role team, he can able to get access to, let's say, my client group. He can able to get access to my client groups, let's say, my client groups. And he's access to new person. He can perform the new person hiring transaction. If at all, if you go to there, he can go to hire an employee. He can perform this duty. He can perform pending worker, add a contingent worker, add a non-worker, add a pending worker. He can perform all these duties too. Else, if he get access to other areas, like if you go to my client group, let's say absences, then he's able to perform absence record person management area, or he can go to absence plan, absence type. These all are what? Different duties what a user can be performed by having that role in the system team. So each and every task that I can perform in different functional areas with that role team, for each and everything, I have the duty roles or the aggregate privileges which are inherited within this roles team. Now, let's say I will search with my role called human resource manager. Human resource manager team. Let's say I will take up the seeded Oracle delivered job role team. Right? If I select here, whatever that you are seeing here, the privileges team. Within this role, I have all these privileges team. Means all the duties or the aggregate privileges what I can do. So let's suppose I have something, a duty role or a privilege called employee hire team. So as this overall per employee hire duty CRM, this employee hire inherited within this role team, I have access to my client group. And then if I go to a new person, if I have to get access to this hire an employee task under new person, this privilege is helping me in this role team. If this privilege is removed from this role, when I come to new person team, this hire an employee I cannot see. So what is that team? Every access that you are getting with a role assigned to you, what are all the tasks that you can perform in the system or the transactions that you can perform in the system? For each and everything, you have the duty roles or the aggregate privileges which are inherited within that main role team. So you can see all that list here, If you click on edit role, you can also see them in the privileges here team, edit role. Here in the fourth tab, if you go in the role hierarchy, all the duty roles or the aggregate privileges which are inherited within your role, you can see here team, see employee role. Like that, you have something like non-worker edition. See, as you have this duty role or the privilege inherited within your human resource manager team, you're going to get access to this add a non-worker team. If I remove this privilege from this role, then this access will be removed to you. So by having that role assigned to you, what are the duties that you can perform in the system, right? We have something called privileges within the role team. For each and every access that you are getting in the system, that respective privilege will be inherited within your roles team, right? So these all are the privileges that you can see in the role hierarchy. In every implementation team, whenever you configuring the custom data roles, in order to have the functionality level restrictions, this aggregate privileges are going to play very crucial role team. These are not individual roles team. These are inherited within these roles. The access related roles, these all are. So if you want to control any functionalities within the role, you have to remove the privileges or you have to add the privileges within the role. Then the functionalities will get added and get removed from the system team. These all are that only, right? So I have many things. See, so yesterday we have gone to manage fast formulas and we have configured our formulas. When I search in my setup and my maintenance, I got access to fast formula. If I remove this manage fast formula privilege from this role team, if that role assigned to my user, that fast formula I won't have access. Like that, for every task or the every transaction that we are going to perform, these all are the different transactions that we are performing in the screen. See, manage divisions, view worker contact, maintain positions, correcting the employment termination, terminate the employment, change working hours. See, manage user account, manage areas of responsibility. All these are the different access related things that we are going to perform in the system team. So these all are the aggregate privileges which will be inherited team. These all are the privileges which are inherited within this role team. So if you want to have any restrictions to them, we are going to control our privileges within the roles team. So these are the different types of roles that we have in the system team. Now, what we have to do in any implementation team, if we are clear with this information, what are the seeded roles that are available for what are all the modules? If we are known about all these details team. Now, as per the business requirement, how many legal entities I am having, how the system to be configured, what is your client requirement, how their expectation, what kind of data restriction they're expecting. Are they want separate HR manager roles for all the legal entities separately, or any business level bifurcation they are maintaining, or department level restrictions they are maintaining to the employees data? How? We have to be cleared with our requirement gathering in the security area before configuring our custom data roles team. And functionality restriction within the each role, whatever the by default access that these roles will give, we aware of team. Then what restrictions our client expecting, in which role what functionalities to be restricted. If at all, if these two requirements are clear to us team, then we can start with creating our custom data roles in the system with all these restrictions enabling at those level team. All right. Now let us see how to do that one. Before that, let me show you team which role will give access to what data in the system team. For that, you have something called roles in the security console team. You can come to the role, search the role team, and then click on the action button here in the drop down. Here you have something called a simulate navigator team. If you go to simulate navigator, whatever the navigator that we are able to see here, all the navigator related functional areas, if I give full access to my user, all the types of roles if I assign, what are all the user will get? All the navigator related functional areas and the sub-functional areas under them, and to what this human resource manager will have access, we can see team. Come to the role, any role you search, not only HR manager, you search with payroll, you search with compensation, you search with benefits, anything. Come to the role, click on simulate navigator team. Now here you can see in the navigator or in the springboard to what functional areas this role will give access team. So whatever you see without lock, that all access the, what I have to say, this user will, this role will be given in the system team. This role will be given in the system team. So here, whatever that we have seen unlock, let's say sales, within the sales, it will give access to analytics, campaigns, court order, subscription account, these things. Whatever you are seeing with locked or lock symbol with this, okay, what do you say, with some kind of triangle, what you are seeing, team, these also will not be able to see. Whatever are unlocked, only those things you can see. Like, see, under my client groups, if I come team, these all are the sub-functional areas which ideally I will have under my client groups. So with this human resource manager role assigned to the user, what access I can get is onboarding, new person, person management, absence management, goals, then goals, performance, profiles, career and development. These all things I'm able to get access to. Okay, whatever are in the locked, whatever are in the locked, that access I won't see to. I have to add some more roles in addition to this one in order to get access to those things. Let's say compensation is there. See, it will not have access directly with this human resource manager role. But when this compensation will show under my client groups, along with this role, if I have the compensation manager or compensation admin role team. So simulate navigator is something which will show you or navigate to all the navigator related or the springboard related functional areas and sub-functional areas, and to which of them this role will have access under them. So whatever you see like this only triangle without a lock, those all sub-functional areas will get accessible with this role team. If anything that you see a triangle with the lock symbol, you won't have access to those functional areas with this role team. So in the simulate navigator, you can check what access in the system I'm going to get with this role. So this is for human resource manager. Let's say I want to check for my payroll admin role team. If I check for payroll administrator role team, search the role, click on that one. Now the screen update with that role, payroll administrator role. Then click on the drop down, then click on simulate navigator. Then with this role, what access I will get in the navigator, I can see. See team, new person, onboarding, what absences, time, now everything got locked. See, something related to the payroll will open. See, payroll got opened up here. See, like this team. Whatever that you have access, person management, you have an access team. Whatever you have an access to that navigator or the springboard level functional and sub-functional areas, you can check it in the simulate navigator task team. And then team, here you have an option called compare roles. Like in the system, if you want to compare between two roles, like what are all the duty roles or the privileges inherited within them, if you want to compare between two roles, you can come to the role, you can click on the compare role, and you can pass the second role and you can compare. Else team, directly you have something called compare roles here. You can come to compare roles, search the first role here team. Let's say I want to compare between human resource manager, and then I want to compare between let's say payroll administrator. Okay, so I can compare here. So in both the two roles, whatever the common privileges that we have, what are the distinguished privileges that we have, you can see that comparison team. So this is from the admin point of view, you can make utilize of this task also team. See, in payroll, I won't have access to my absence administrator and work area. But in my HR manager role, I have access. I don't have access to my change legal employer dashboard in payroll, but I have in human resource manager. So like that, what are common across both, what is available in first and what is not in second, what is available in second, what is not in first. See, I can see all that access related things here too. See, manage sub-ledger accounting rules. These all things in the human resource manager role, I cannot have access, but there I have access. Like that, you can compare between these two roles team. In which case means in the implementation, if you want to assign any role to the user and you want to find whether adding human resource manager role will suffice our requirement or we should ask payroll admin also. You can compare them, both the roles, and you can check, okay, both are commonly available across two roles. So I can have main role, whatever I want to do. It's all about for our understanding purpose in order to know the differences between the roles. Like that, you can have this concept. If you want to utilize, you can. Else, if you are well aware of the things, then you need to be going with that team. Okay. So that is one thing. Now, let us start configuring the custom data role in the system team. So let us follow certain steps when we configuring the data roles team. What is the first step team that we have to do in the system? Step one will be identify which role that you are going to create as a custom data role team. So I want to create my human resource manager role team. So this is my job role. This one I am going to use and I want to create my custom data role. So the step one will be team. First of all, copy the job role. Copy the job role and duplicate it. Okay. First step will be what team? Copy the job role and duplicate it, which you are going to use in your custom role creation team. Okay. So human resource manager role I am going to use here team. And I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to create something custom job role I'm going to define first of all. How? Come here, search with the role. Select the role. Anytime pick up the ORA one team. Select the role. Okay, ORA. And now click on the drop down and click on copy role here team. See, directly you can use the existing job role and you can directly create a data role team. But usually we will never touch the existing ones. We will copy them and we will create the duplicate job role in the system team first. So copy top role and inherited roles within them or any other. But by default, for first time when you are using, you can have the top role copying team. But let's say when you are copying the custom job roles, again you are duplicating them. Some other roles you inherited within them, then you can go with this one team. So click on copy role, and here you can have your own custom name: human resource manager Tata job role. I'm giving the name like this team. Okay, you can have the code also with your naming convention that you want. Okay, and then team category, it will be job role. Nothing you can do here team. Just click on next. No need to add anything. Everything will be just duplicating team from the human resource manager. Nothing to be adding here. I'll talk about this when we create the data. Just click on next, 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 and then submit and close team. Right? Your process was submitted. Now you have defined your custom job role only. You have duplicated it and you have created your own job role in the system team. If you want to see the status, whether it got created or not, you can go to administration section here and then see the role copy status. Go to role copy status. Okay, it got completed. See, else you can see in progress, something like that. Now you go to roles team. Now you search with a role called human resource manager. See, human resource manager Tata job role. I have copied this seeded job role and I created my custom job role team. See, human resource manager Tata job role. The first step is what team? Copy the job role and duplicate it. and create your own custom job role. Now what you have to do, team, by using this one, the job role, whatever you have created, create your custom data role. The second step is create the custom data role in the system by using the copied job role. The second step is how you will define the data role, team. You cannot define the data role from the security console role section, team. Go to home, come to my client groups. Under my client groups, team, you have something here called workforce structures, a sub-functional area called workforce structures. Go to workforce structures, team, right? Under that, if you scroll down, we have something here called security profiles, and then under that you have something called data role. Here you have a task available called team data roles and security profiles. If you want to define your custom data role and you have to define certain data restrictions to them, then you should come to this particular task, team, for creating the data role. Click on data role and security profiles, team, and then you can search for the existing roles in the system, team. If not, if you want to create a new data role, then come to create here, click on create, team, and then I'm going to create my custom data role, team, with the name of, let's say, Tata HR Manager. Okay, and see, team, whenever you creating a data role in the system, what it is asking, team, to map the job role. See, create the custom data role by using the copied job role. So here we have to map our job role. What is the source of truth for this data role? Click on the drop down and search, team. Your custom job role can be seen here. Human Resource Manager Tata. See, Human Resource Manager Tata job role that you created, I'm inheriting within my data role, team. This is my source of truth. Ultimately, my custom data role I'm creating is what? From this job role. So whatever the access in the system, this job role will be provisioning. Now, whatever the data role I'm creating under this job role, every access this data role will provision, team. This is how we have to create our data roles by copying the seeded job roles in the system, team. Okay, job role, delegation allowed. If I checkbox and if I create my data role, team, what happens, team? In the system, in the front end, we have seen already this particular concept of delegation or of role, team. I have shown you in the HR self-service or the HR transactions, team. Like when a manager is going on a vacation, as a HR, you can delegate his roles to another colleague, like the approval delegation, role delegation we have seen, correct? If at all the role can be delegatable in the system, means when that role configured in the system itself, we have to check box delegation allowed as enabled, team. Then only this role in the front end for any employee that you assign, you can delegate from that employee to another employee, team. If you are not checking box this, team, this role cannot be delegatable, team. HR cannot delegate the existing role of an employee to another employee, team. So that is delegation allowed enabling at the role itself when we creating, team. And then, team, whenever we creating the data roles, when we click on the next, we have the concept called security criteria or security profiles coming into the picture, team. What is that, team? See here. What is that? This data restriction. How the data will be restricted in the system for the role that you are creating, team, the custom role that you are creating now by using the seeded role. How the data restriction you will be creating at the data role, team. We have a concept called security profiles in the system, team. And how many types of data I can restrict within the roles, team? I can restrict the organization's data, something like legal employer, business unit, department. These data I can restrict, team. And then I can restrict the positions related data. Okay, positions related data I can restrict team, and I can restrict the countries respective data I can restrict in the system. Then LDG respective data I can restrict in the system. Then persons, nothing but employees data. Employees data I can restrict in the system. And then the document types I can restrict in the system. And then payroll I can restrict in the system. And then payroll flows also I can restrict a team. So these different objects I can restrict in the system with the security profiles team. Means these all related information I can restrict. Whenever I'm talking about the data restriction team, it's not about only the employees data team. These all business objects related information I can restrict. Means when I log in into the system as a user, when I'm going to hire an employee, or if I go to a task called manage legal entity, I should be able to get access only to my legal entity, not any other legal entity. Or if I go to manage business unit in the system, what business units I'm able to see there? Only whatever the business unit related to my legal entities I should be able to see. Or whenever I'm hiring an employee in the system, when I go to the third tab, assignment information, where I click on the drop down to add the business unit to an employee, only the business unit which I have access I should see in the drop down, not all the BUs in the system. Or departments, the same concept. Or positions, also the same concept. Countries, when I'm creating the configurations in my absence module or in my payroll module team, when I click on a create button, it will ask under which country, under which LDG you are creating the task. Currently in the system, if I go to my client group, and if I go to, let's say, absences, and to define a plan, let's assume team. Okay, when I click on create button, see, all countries I'm able to get access in the system. Why all coming? As I am part of Tata Automobiles, which is part of India, I should have access only to India. Why every other country is coming? Okay, countries are coming. Even then, if I get into my country, when I am trying to create a plan, the LDGs you take, why all these LDGs are coming? Only LDG which is relevant to my legal employer or my legal entity, I should have access to one, that is only US LDG. But now I'm able to get access to all LDGs which are created in this country, right? Even these restrictions also take country specific restriction, LDG respective data restriction, then employees and document types. Like when we hiring an employee team, and after hiring an employee in the HR self-service, I explained you the concept of document of records adding to the person. When you are adding a document of records, whatever the document types you have access with the role, only that you can assign to the employees in the drop down. So that you can have. And payroll, when you are running a payroll in the system team, like as a HR, we have seen, right, in our last week sessions, when we running the payroll, I went to submit a flow, I chosen the LDG, and I went to my calculate payroll process, like my client group. Let's say if I go to payroll, right, for running a payroll, I have to go to this one, flow submission and results, and I have to go to submit a flow. And when I'm trying to search, run my payroll in the system, let's say under my US LDG, let's say, I want to run a payroll. So when I'm running a payroll in the system team, I have the parameters to choose, correct? Which payroll that I have to submit in the system. So let's say I'm running under US LDG, let's say calculate payroll. Calculate payroll. So I will give some payroll month details, and here I can select. See, currently I'm able to see bi-weekly, retail, monthly, retail, all the payrolls under the US registration created in the system, I'm able to see. Why should my HR should see all the payrolls created in the instance team? Only whatever the payroll that is relevant to his legal employer, he should be able to see, not other than that. Not only here, if I go to payroll definition task, as a HR, I can search whatever the existing payroll definitions created, even there also team. Why should my employee should able to see all the payrolls created? Only whatever the payroll that his company relevant to have, only that he should get access. So even in the system, that payroll level data also can be controlled with the role team. And payroll flows, whenever you are using the flow patterns, whatever the flow that you want to give access to the user, only that flow can be visible. So in the Fusion system team, for all these objects, we can have the data restriction implemented team for all these objects in the system. For legal employer or the legal entity, business unit, department, positions, countries, LDGs, employees, document types, payroll flow. For all these 8 to 10 objects, we have the data restriction implemented at the role level team. So whenever we configuring the custom data role here, whenever we configuring the custom data role by inheriting our job role team, at the custom data role level, we have to enable that security for all these objects team. If at all, if you want to restrict them with the role. Okay. So in the next session, I will take up team because I cannot complete them. But today, let us take more 5 minutes and let me show you how we have to configure the security profiles. So in order to define the security restrictions at all these data of all these objects team, we have a concept in place called security profiles in the system team. So for all these objects, I have to define in order to restrict these things team, I have something called organization security profile. In order to restrict the positions with the role, I have something called position security profile. Same goes with country, LDG, employees. For everything, I have country security profile, LDG security profile, document type security profile, person security profile. Like that, for each of the object, I have the concept called security profiles team. But here, if I click on a drop down, some data is coming up. But how you have to define your security profile team and what data that you want with this role at all these profiles when you're creating for them, you have to input this data team to which data this role should get access to. For that, here only within the my client groups and the work structures, if you go to my client groups and if you go to work structures, okay, you scroll down, here only team, just above to this data role section, we have something called security profiles, right team? So these all are the things, see, person security profile, organization security profile, position security profile, LDG, country, document type, okay, transactions, even the payroll level will come team, but not readily available here. You can go to setup and maintenance and you can search for the payroll. So you have all these different things team. So first of all team, before we creating our custom data role team, first we have to be clear with all our security profiles team. So we have to come to the security profiles. So let's say organizational level restriction you want to provide to your role. Then come to this org security profile team and then define your security profile here and with the parameters like what to be included under this role and add the security profile here team. At the organization security profile level, you have to add. If you want your security profile coming in the drop down, first of all, if you have to go here and you have to define your security profile team. So for defining the org security, we have several ways to define them. Through org hierarchy, where we can use our organization tree and department tree in that, or you can choose by classification, or you can secure by organization list. We have a couple of ways to deal with this team. In next session, in tomorrow, I will tell you how to define them. But primary object, you be clear team. How the restrictions that we are going to implement in the system team. Like whenever we creating our custom data roles in the system, we have to add the security profiles related to different business objects. Business objects are what? These are the business objects. So if anyone asks you what kind of data, to which objects in the Fusion system we can implement the data restriction, then you have to list out these things. For these business objects in the system, we can have the data restriction enabled at the data role level team. So step 1 is what, team? Copy the job role and duplicate it. Okay. And then step 2 is what, team? Create the custom data role by using that copied job role. And when you creating the data role in the system, you have to map the security profiles with the parameters to that particular role team. So for different objects, we have the security level restrictions enabled. The list is this one. For each of them, we have to define a security profile by including the respective parameters, and you have to add at the role level team. So like that, we can create our custom data role. After this topic, team, in tomorrow, we can also see the functionality restrictions. When the data restriction you have enabled at the data role level, after creating the data role, how we can enable the functionality specific restriction, like what access that you want to remove or what access you want to add within the role, how to control them, that we will see in the tomorrow session. Okay. So any questions as such in today's topic, team, related to the types of roles we have and the process that we have initiated for creating our custom data roles team?
Hi Kumar, this is Sanjay.
Yes, Sanjay.
Especially we understand basically how we can compare compare or rather we can restrict the security profiles for any particular role. But when it comes to the organization, all the roles in the organization, all the employees in the organization, there are hundreds of roles in the organizations. Now, what is the process that we should follow to complete the security profiles for all the roles? That would like to know rather. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but whenever we finish this topic, we basically
your question is how you will assign the roles to them, or what is
no. Basically, how the entire exercise of this security profile will be managed during the implementation. Okay. So when we talk to client, the client will provide the hundreds of roles, right? These are the people roles. Now,
it's not like 100 of rows, because in EBS we have the concept of responsibility which you will create.
Yes.
But here the concept is different. One role we will define, and that we can assign to all our population.
But within that role also, if there are some restrictions on the
obviously that we have to differentiate. That's what we have to understand from the client, how they want that role to be created. Any department to department, they are taking a benchmark and having a separate roles, or any legal employer to legal employer, they want separate roles, or any business unit to business unit, what basis they want to have the security partition. If that is clear, then we will define the roles for those set of people like that.
Okay. I think we will take this topic again maybe once we finish this.
Yeah, fine, absolutely.
A couple of days.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, team, then let's conclude the session here today, team. In tomorrow's session, we can continue with the custom security profiles creating for different objects and how to assign them at our data role, and the functionality level restrictions, how we can define also, we can see it. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining, team. Let's continue tomorrow.